If you ever worked with manifestation, lots of people, if you're into manifesting, you're like, oh, thoughts become things. You create things, your beliefs create your reality. Absolutely, they do, but not your conscious thoughts. So if you have a bad day and you're just thinking negatively, don't worry, you're not going to manifest bad things. What's manifesting is our unconscious. We manifest from the beliefs that are back here. So if you have a belief that you're not good enough, your reticular activating system is just going to pick out situations to validate that belief. And then you'll be like, if something bad then happens and the person breaks up with you, or the thing doesn't work out, or then you can say, see, I knew it. I'm just not good enough.
Welcome to Rooted and Divine with me, Katelyn Payne, a podcast for women ready to shed old identities, heal, and align with their soul. Each week, we'll explore spiritual growth, healing, and personal stories that empower you to embody your truth. Rooted in humanity and fully alive as a divine soul. Elli, my beautiful sister, welcome to the Rooted and Divine podcast. It is an absolute honor and privilege to have you here.
It's so good to see a beautiful face. And for everybody listening, this is our second take. Because on the first one, we went all over town. So hopefully we'll be all centered today. We'll see.
It is so fun to be in a friendship and in a relationship where we can leave it and be like, wow, we were really in our minds and not heart-centered. And I'm so grateful for that. I'm so grateful for the clarity of our relationship and the way that we can just speak openly and freely and be like, hey, I feel like there was something off in that podcast, and we addressed it and we came back together. And I think that really, that just means so much to me. And for anyone out there, nothing is perfect. Humans working with humans and having human relationships, I really think as we move forward into the new paradigm, it'll just be more like what the type of friendships I want to have are ones that are clear and open. And it's not about always showing up in this perfectness. It's about being honest of like, hey, today I feel XYZ and here's what I can give you and here's what I cannot. Like, I think that we'll be seeing more and more of that type of honesty within friendships as we move forward in time and space. So I'm grateful that I get to have that with you and practice that.
Same.
So Elli, tell everyone who you are, what you do, and just give us a little rundown of Psyche and your magic.
Well, hello, everyone. My name is Elli. I live in beautiful Encinitas, California, with the Carrot, my dog. And I'm a subconscious and somatic integrative therapist. So I've basically created this out of several degrees and journeys that I've been on in my life. And my first degree and interest was in physical healing. So I'm from Germany, as you can hear. And I grew up in a little village, and I had a lot of health issues and a lot of trauma-related physical health issues. So my passion in my teenage years the healing arts became my passion, and mainly because I wanted to heal my body. I was a teenager, and my kneecap would jump out a lot. It's called subluxation, and I would live my life, and then my knees would give out. So a lot of like the things that you do as a teenager or as a young adult, I felt very limited physically. So my first college degree was in physical therapy so that I could heal my body. And so as I started to work with meat suits, I started to notice there's so much more to the meat suit and to healing and to physical healing than just the right exercises to fix the body. Most people started to spill all their emotional stuff and their relational stuff and their spiritual stuff to me and their mental health. So once I immigrated to America, I met a man and followed him to the States, and I got married early at 23. Which is another little funsy Right story, but for the purpose of just sharing what I do, when I came to America, my degree wasn't transferred. So that was super frustrating initially for my ego. Imagine you go to school for all these years and then you were like working in that profession and then you go to a different country and you can't use that degree. However, it very quickly turned out that the creator had given me that opportunity so that I could do something much better. So what did I do? I was so programmed to believe that you need a college degree to be legitimate, I went back to college, even though my soul had started to wake up a little bit. I had started to wake up to my calling. And granted, I've kind of always followed my calling. Even physical therapy was in the realm of my calling. It's helping people. I just felt really more drawn to do something really unconventionally that didn't exist. And because of my programming, of academia is the way I went back to school and I studied health education with a side of psychology. And I say a side of psychology because as I started to study psychology, I very quickly disagreed with that paradigm and with the approach. And here's why. Um, in psychology, the fundamental belief is that the person is sick and needs medication. When I spend time with people, I operate from the belief that they're already whole, that they know how to heal themselves, that they are the medicine and the healer and their doctor, and that I'm just here to facilitate that for them. And I like that a lot better as a fundamental approach. So I decided to go down that route. So once I was in college in Charleston, South Carolina, I also had a spiritual awakening. I was part of a meditation group, part of what's called Course in Miracles, and conscious work and shadow work. And I remembered who the F I was. And so there I was in college. I felt like I remembered who I was. I think I was like 25, 25, 26. So I changed my whole life around. I stopped drinking alcohol. I stopped partying. I decided to really deeply get to know myself. And so through that inner work with this person that facilitated Course in Miracles and meditations and all these different women's groups, men's groups, mixed groups, I realized I want to do what that person is doing. I want to sit with people and help them. And at the time, coaching and this kind of stuff that we're talking about didn't really exist. This was like 20 plus years ago. And none of this exists, at least in Charleston, South Carolina, at least with my big, long background of academia, my mindset, I didn't really understand what my soul has signed up for in this journey. So I kind of finagled my way through it all and was a health coach, a fitness coach, a life coach. And then eventually, fast forward, another big awakening happened in my 30s when my marriage, I was married super young. And then I think I was 36 or so, 2013. My marriage in my life as I knew it just completely changed from one moment to the next with one piece of information, something my ex-husband had chosen to do that just changed our entire reality, how I perceived it, and my entire life literally fell apart. It felt literally like apart in a million little pieces. I remember him telling me what has happened, me leaving my body and my body sort of like falling just falling to the ground. And then my life actually started. And I realized whatever I've been doing, I need to go way deeper. I need way more help, The surface level coaching that I was doing was great. I don't want to shit on it. And I was missing an actual something to get deeper inside of myself and to help myself with the pain I was feeling, the trauma I was feeling, the lack, the fear, the scarcity, the disconnect, the separation, hate and pain. And so I went on a quest to find the best thing to help myself and others. And it's always like that, like I had an issue and I was like, I want to fix this and I want to help others fix this. So that's usually how it goes. So eventually I found my way to Psyche, which is the fastest modality to change your subconscious mind. And within seconds of that experience, my entire life changed and it hasn't stopped changing. And that was about 7 years ago. And then in 2020, um, and I skipped a bunch of things that I studied and did. So I was also on the self-help train, like a lot of people when you try to fix your subconscious stuff and you don't know it's subconscious, you'll go to every self-help book you can get your hands on. So I read it all, and I try to really, and I did all the courses. I taught yoga for 17 years. I was partner in a yoga meditation studio. I taught sound bath. I taught all the things. And all of it was amazing and brought all this awareness to what was going on, yet I didn't know how to change it. So long story short, in 2020, when we all had a collective reckoning, I spent a lot of time just thinking about how I can share my gifts. And then one day it just came super clearly, supposed to be subconscious somatic integration. And I decided I'm just going to create this subconscious somatic integrative therapy. And that's what I've been offering for the last 7 years. That's how you and I met. So I've been on this train pretty much since I'm 19. So 48 now, a long time. And it's been a long journey of studying myself. It's just always studying myself, finding deeper and deeper the limitations so I can just be a really, really clear vessel to receive guidance, to hold space, to let the things come through that needs to come through, to see what needs to be seen, to have the capacity to witness it, and blah, 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 all the things. So in a nutshell, I help people live their life to the fullest by deleting any and all blocks in their subconscious that keeps them from living fully, and really learn how to fully feel their feelings, and through doing so connect to source and remember that they're divine.
So powerful. So powerful. I've been working with Ellie for the last 3 years, and it's been a game changer for me. My husband's working with her. It's been also a game changer for him, and, we love the process. So tell us a little bit about what the subconscious mind is, what these beliefs are. You had touched on a couple of things that I wanted to pull out of your story. Of one, you would leave your body, and so I wanted to help people, like, what did that feel like when you're leaving your body? And, like, what belief is creating that? What's happening there in the subconscious mind?
Okay, let me pull back a little bit. So we actually have three levels of mind. And I think most people don't know that we have three levels of mind. So when we talk about mental health, most people refer to their thoughts and beliefs on a conscious and subconscious level. But we actually also have a superconscious mind. And that's what we know to be as the higher self, intuition, or source, you know? So the ultimate would be to really reconnect to the voice inside of us that knows what's best for us. You all have it, your intuition. And we all have that little voice that whispers, do this, go here, don't do this. That's a yes, that's a no. So ultimately, the purpose of all this work is to get connected with that voice so that you can trust the choices you make, that you know how to navigate yourself, and that you understand what your system is telling you. So, with these three levels of mind, the highest level or the most expanded level being your higher self. And then we have the conscious mind, which is the logical mind. That's our thoughts. And we have about 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day. And we're only aware of about 1 to 5%. And that 1 to 5% is what makes our logical conscious mind. So when you go to talk therapy, you're kind of working with that on the 1 to 5%. And you're trying to use those 1 to 5% to make the other 95% conscious. So
Mhm.
talk therapy and coaching helps you to make the unconscious conscious. Now, the unconscious or the subconscious, or also called the habitual mind, that makes 95 to 99% of our reality. And that's where it's actually a good thing that we're not aware of everything, because things like walking and breathing and your digestion and your heart rate and your muscle contraction, that's all controlled by this part of our mind. So it's a good thing that we don't have to consciously decide, now blink your eye, now poop, now
Yeah.
digest, now contract this muscle. So it's a good thing that most of it happens unconsciously. So there's a difference. We have thoughts on a conscious level, and then we have deeply ingrained beliefs on a subconscious level. So the first thing I want you guys to hear is that there's a difference between your thoughts and your beliefs. thoughts can change by reading a book or listening to a podcast or literally changing your mind by learning new information. For example, at some point, we all believe the earth is flat, and so that's a belief. That's different, right? So it's a deeply ingrained belief. So beliefs are more our opinions and biases that we grew up with in the first 0 to 14 years of our lives. And it's said that about 70% of that library of unconscious programs is negative, fear-based, scarcity, lack. And I'm just going to say a couple of the most common limiting beliefs or most common negative programs that you might recognize in your own head, like, I'm not good enough. I am smart enough, like the whole category of not enoughness. I can't. There's something wrong with me. I'm too different. I can't connect. Those types of beliefs that are going deep down. I'm a bad person. I've made all these mistakes. Therefore, I don't deserve to be happy. Or, religious beliefs. You and I talked a lot about religious negative beliefs. Like, if you do this, you'll go to hell, or you're a deeply bad, flawed person. So a lot
Yes.
of people have these programs that are deep, 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 deep down. These are beliefs. And these beliefs are living in our subconscious and cause what's called the reticular activating system. It's actually a place in your brainstem where your brain picks out, based on your subconscious beliefs, what your brain perceives in your reality. So some people have in their programs in their subconscious that the world's a bad place, that there's no money to go around for everybody, that there's not enough for everybody, that you have to struggle to be successful. So this person will then have a pair of glasses with which they perceive the world. They have a reticular activating system that only picks out everything that's wrong, everything that's missing, and everything that matches their subconscious programs. So this is more than confirmation bias. This is like our beliefs creating our reality. And so with subconscious change, with Psyche, you can change the lenses with which you view the world. And I love helping people with trauma because that used to be my past. And so trauma creates lenses of looking for more things to feel traumatized about, basically, in a nutshell. So your reticular activating system after you experience trauma, it's not just about that this bad, painful thing happened for you. It's also all the fears and doubts and limitations and scarcity that your mind made up after that event because of the event. So say you get mugged and somebody just jumps you, steals your purse. It's not just that that's super freaking scary, but that now your brain is just going to perceive threats everywhere you go. Whereas before that traumatic event, your brain wasn't looking for that because you didn't have that traumatic experience and your reticular activating system was looking for other things. So basically, a lot of people don't know that the world isn't actually what they think. Like the world isn't, what we see. It's how we're programmed to see it. And so your world changes as your inside changes, as your belief change inside. What your brain picks out for you to experience and to receive and to see is different. And I want to say this very scientifically, because if you ever worked with manifestation, lots of people, if you're into manifesting, you're like, oh, thoughts become things. You create things, your beliefs create your reality. Absolutely they do, but not your conscious thoughts. So if you have a bad day and you're just thinking negatively, don't worry, you're not going to manifest bad things. What's manifesting is our unconscious. So we manifest from the beliefs that are back here. So if you have a belief that you're not good enough, your reticular activating system is just going to pick out situations to validate that belief. And then you'll be like, if something bad then happens and the person breaks up with you or the thing doesn't work out, or then you can say, see, I knew it. I'm just not good enough. So it's like the perpetuation of that. So I feel super passionate about helping people to change the lenses with which they view the world, and helping them to also understand what you're experiencing is your subconscious playing out. You're not
Mhm.
stupid. It's not because you haven't read enough self-help books. It's not that you're not trying hard enough. It's because this is your subconscious playing out absolutely perfectly your beliefs, your perceptions, your traumas, not just of your own, but your family and society and whatever else came before you. Did
Oof.
that answer your question?
So powerful. Like, I just wanted to reiterate, like, what Ellie said is that the subconscious mind governs the body and creates what percentage of our reality? Is
95
it
to 99%. Oh, and I love
9?
that you just said that. I forgot to mention that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Most important thing is your body reflects what's going on in the subconscious. Your body is the subconscious.
Yes.
Body is the subconscious. So let's bring that into relationship with mental health, right? What
Yes.
we know to be mental health. It's not separate from physical health. Mind and body are connected, right? So you mentioned, what do you mean by leaving your body? The part that can leave our body is our conscious mind. Since the subconscious is your body, your subconscious never leaves. It's always in the now. Whatever is going on in your body always reflects what your subconscious is looping on. Your conscious mind, the logical mind, can go and leave and go and travel into the future or travel into the past or make up a story about this person. Oh, let me just leave my body and go into this person's reality and make up what they're thinking about, what they're feeling about me. You know what I mean? So we can leave our body, and with our conscious mind, I can go in and make up a story of what's Katelyn thinking about me right now? What's she feeling? And then I go into a story, I run with the story. And then let's say my mind makes up the story, she doesn't like me. And then I'm like, oh my God, she doesn't like me. And then I'm completely not in my body. I am in your energy. I'm trying to figure you out. And if you like me or not, and then based on what I'm making up, I'm trying to change my behavior. You see how insane that is, right? And then no wonder my body is anxious as fuck.
Yes.
Yeah, because I'm not in it. I'm not noticing my breath. I'm not noticing my heart rate. I'm not noticing my head hurting because I left it and I'm in a story. And we do that all the time. We're constantly making up stories. And then we feel terrible because we actually left the present moment. And
Mhm.
so the only point of power is in the present moment. What's so cool about the conscious mind thinks in past, present, and future. The subconscious mind is always in the now. So if we focus on something that happened 20 years ago that's still stressful for you, that your subconscious mind hasn't let go of, you focusing on it will bring up all the feelings from it. Now, what's even more interesting, let's just say 20 years ago, you went through your first breakup and it was a fall day and the leaves were falling and there was a song on the radio and you were wearing red and you were smelling, I'm just going to make stuff up, apple cider in the air or whatever. Now, all of these little details of what was happening in the moment become imprinted in your subconscious as data associated with trauma. So
Mm.
that every time, 10 years later, 20 years later, you see the color red or you smell this smell or you listen to that song, you'll have an emotional experience that is similar to how you felt during that breakup. And you'll have no idea why on a conscious level. And you'll go to therapy and be like, I don't know, I feel anxious. Or you feel triggered by a certain person because they might remind you of that person that you broke up with, but you have no conscious awareness that that's related.
Yes.
And that's what we do in this work. We get super curious. We follow your body's cues and we get deep into your psyche to repair, basically to return you to wholeness. It sounds super scary and daunting, and it's not at all, actually. We laugh all the time. It's fast and easy. It's effective. And there's nothing in your unconscious that you haven't actually already lived through. So there's nothing to be afraid of. It's really just pulling on a red thread and releasing the tension.
That has been so true in my experience. Like, and anyone who has done subconscious work in my life who's like, "Oh, I just feel like I don't know what I'm gonna be getting myself into." It is so liberating when you can feel this pressure release, when we're living in the stories and the subconscious mind is governing our reality and we haven't dealt with these things, it feels in the body just like you're trying to keep beach balls underwater, like a
Yes.
million beach balls of like, "Nope, I don't have to do that. I don't have to look at that if I just do this." So what is it like for you say that coming to the subconscious mind brings us to the present moment and we need to feel all of our feelings. And I think that that's a trigger point for a lot of people because they're like, "Well, I don't want to feel fear. I don't want to feel what I felt." Can you speak to that of like why is that important that we learn to feel our feelings and not make a story? Because that's really how we've been programmed to be as humans. Like when something happens at any level, in any situation, you immediately just want to be like, well, this is why our mind just like, this is why it happened. And this is how I'm going to fix it. And it's, I think, such a paradigm shift to not make a story. And so I wanted to kind of paint a picture of like, why is that important? How will that help us reprogram the subconscious mind, feeling our emotions, being in the moment and pulling back from the story when it feels because the story feels so true. There's someone out there who's listening who's like, "Yes, but they don't know that this happened to me and it is because this person is a complete piece of crap and they blah 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 blah." You know what I mean? So what how can we paint this picture?
Yes, I'm just gonna write something down. I don't want to forget this. You said so much gold. First of all, I want to go back to this fear that people have to even enter a therapeutic container. That's already the first limiting belief that it is hard or painful. And I just want you to know the hardest thing is our own self judgment.
Yes.
It's the hardest thing. Most people are also unconsciously, subconsciously programmed to be their worst critic. And and then maybe even believe that that's a good thing, that that would make them successful, or that they would lose their edge if they were to not believe that, if they were to not treat themselves like their worst critic. So the thing that we in all therapeutic approaches is the most important thing is kindness and compassion to yourself and your journey, and just so much gentleness. That's the hardest thing, you know? So, and then of course, there's the fear of fear itself. There's fear of feelings. I remember being at this point of, right, what we're talking about, and having a story that if I were to really allow myself to feel my feelings, I would cry for the rest of my life. That's how it felt. It felt like I would not stop. And I also really did cry for a couple months straight once I addressed it, in my 20s. So the emotions, to answer your question, when we're little, when you look at babies, you see that they can go through an emotion, all their emotions in like 1 minute. You can go from happy to sad to scared to angry and all the way back around. And without interference, you can see the child completely going through the ranges of emotion and being okay. And that's how we still are as adults. If we don't resist our emotions, they take about 90 seconds to move through us. So I want to start with that. Now, I did not learn that. Very, very opposite. Emotions were silly, stupid, waste of time. And if you had any, you'd be beaten or yelled at or punished in some way. So I learned to stuff all my emotions down. I went to great length to avoid feeling anything, expressing anything, and I got really, really sick. So the first thing I'm just going to say why it's so important to feel your feelings. Emotions is energy in motion. When energy and motions gets stopped from coming out, it has to go somewhere. So in a very simplified way, not feeling your feelings will make you sick in your body. That's the first thing, you know?
Yes.
The second thing is feelings are just the energetic response to whatever you're thinking about. Whatever is going through your mind or your brain is having an energetic reaction in your body. So whatever your brain is thinking, you have a somatic experience about this in your body. That's really what feelings are. So just what if we take it down to that, right? And then we have four categories: happy, sad, scared, angry, and then some derivatives. And today we confuse thoughts and feelings. So when we talk about feelings of like joy, pleasure, anger, frustration, sadness, disappointment, fear, shame, guilt. Sound a little bit to keep it super simple. 'Cause in today's world, we have so many names and so many descriptions for so many things.
Yes.
And so when it comes to emotions, it's really simple. There's these four categories, and it's so important to feel them and to let the energy move through you because there's always a message. Have a message. It's like how our body and our spirit communicate. And if you allow yourself to feel your feelings fully, there's a need underneath and a message underneath. And when it comes to, well, health is one thing, right? It's nice to be really healthy in your body. And that comes from fully feeling your feelings without resistance. And resistance is criticism, shame, judgment, in that analysis. So if you stop analyzing, stop shaming, stop judging, let yourself feel that your feelings have a message. And then you get to harvest the message, and that message usually is what guides you through your life. So if you don't feel your feelings, what guides you through your life will be your fears, will be your lack, will be your scarcity. You'll be in the consciousness of that versus the consciousness of creation. If you don't feel your feelings, you'll just be in the consciousness of avoidance. I don't want to feel my feelings, so I'm just going to do what's safe and what's comfortable because I don't want to feel anything. And feeling your feelings also means when you fully embrace your feelings and you're not afraid, you can take risks. You get to enjoy love and pleasure. Because if you avoid one feeling, you avoid all feelings. So many people struggle with joy and pleasure, because they avoid all feelings. So they avoid that feeling. It's so important to feel your feelings. There's another reason. I am super about consciousness and positivity and love and light as a concept. When we talk about being like the creator, those are the qualities of the creator, the consciousnesses of the creator. But in order to get there, we can't just skip the human part, right? A lot of us like to just spiritually bypass and like, I don't like any of this negative feelings. Let me just like figures of light, just go to the light. And essentially, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that eventually your humanness will bite you and you're going to have to feel it. There's no way around it. Part of being a spiritual being and a human experience is to embrace all emotions. So there's actually a danger of not feeling your feelings because you'll get so disassociated and disconnected from your body. You'll also get disconnected from your intuition. So your body gets sick. Your connection to source will be kind of like this. And yeah, mentally, mental health will also be awful because when you try to not feel, you're gonna have to use your thinking to control everything. So you'll be trying to find yourself to plan everything, you'll try to premeditate and control everything. You'll be spending a lot of time going back in the past trying to analyze what happened and what you should have done or could have done or shoulda. So basically, this all the different ways of why it's so important to feel your feelings and why that's such an important.
Yes. Yes, I think so. I really want to give people this different in their minds. Think about your body being this spirit, like this conduit for spirit to express itself. We are the conduits in which the consciousness of God expresses itself. And so when we have these experiences in our lives that bring up that are traumatic, or if we are not feeling our emotions, think about your body as a holding container. And it's like your body just packs in that energy. Because really, what are we trying to get when we connect to God or light, creator, universe, whatever it is you want to call it? We want light, we want energy, we want to feel like we are alive. And when she says spiritually bypassing, it just means that we're ignoring our humanity. We're like, well, I'm just going to pray. I'm going to pray this away, or I'm going to just go do yoga and it's going to go away, or I'm going to go do these different, whatever it is, whatever ritual or ceremony or physical act it is that you have deemed like a spiritual act, without feeling the feeling, it is a in a form of bypassing. Like I said, it's not right or wrong. There's no shamesies, as we all have to experience what it's like to bypass in order to know, so that we can come back to, "Oh, when I feel the feeling, it unlocks the emotion from in the body, the stored trauma," and it literally cleanses our bodies. It cleanses our capacity, and it also it frees up so much energy, because then you don't have to think about. I love how you pointed out that is, I think, we're just so stuck in our minds as humans, because we have deemed that that is how we will get to God, that that is how we will get to consciousness, as if we use these very limited this very limited mind to control our reality. And what's so beautiful about the subconscious work is that it just feels like it's a very cleansing. It cleanses the vessel of the human body, so that it really does allow God to actually fully express through you. When you said that you access more creative powers, you access more capacity for love, you access just this like aliveness, and being alive also means that we feel something that is also can be uncomfortable in the body. So,
Gym, right? There's pain involved. Like we purposefully break muscles apart and then they grow back stronger. The same is true for moving XYZ. How do you get to a certain point? Well, emotional resilience is a really important key for success. If you immediately go into panic when one person doesn't like you, well, for success that feels true and authentic, you got to be okay with making mistakes. You got to be okay with people. And I remember since Thanksgiving is next week, I was thinking about Thanksgiving and how I used to be so eating disordered and how I used to be so afraid of this holiday and so disassociated and so not in my body and so in my little tiny 1 to 5% of my logical mind trying to control my body, my emotions, Thanksgiving, other people, my family. And I was constantly trying to control everything around me so that I didn't have to feel the feelings that I didn't want to feel. So the whole eating disorder was really one big trauma pattern that I had created to keep myself from to keep myself so numb that I didn't have to feel the pain that the eating disorder was the manager for or the coping skill for. And I was thinking how far I've come that I don't even think about this anymore. It doesn't even cross my conscious awareness that I think about my weight or what I'm going to eat or stress out about Thanksgiving or stress out about people, what they're going to think. And that's what possible and available for us. And at the time when I started healing from eating disorder, I was in my early 20s going to Overeaters Anonymous, sitting at 12-step programs and thinking that I'm going to have to do that for the rest of my life. And the message that I got in the eating disorder world was also like, you're going to have to deal with these thoughts and eating disorder thoughts for the rest of your life. This disease, I was taught that this disease comes over you and you gotta have to manage this for the rest of your life. And my soul already knew that true for me. I don't want to keep sitting here and saying, my name is Ellie, I'm an addict, I'm powerless. I was like, no, I don't. My soul was like, no, no shade on it. It was just not my path. So I decided then, how can I bring my mind and my body back into one place? And eventually I discovered all these beliefs and traumas that created all these unmanageable feelings and all this shame and all this anger and so much grief that, of course, if I were to feel it, I would literally pass out. So I had to slowly learn to feel, slowly learn to believe differently. And then I noticed my behavior and around food completely changing just by me doing inner work. And this is after 2 decades of trying to change my behavior around food. And like when you try to change a behavior, well, you don't know. If you try to change a behavior without changing something and lastingly change it without also changing your mindset, kind of impossible because your subconscious mindset creates that behavior. Brushing your teeth in the morning, default autopilot. You don't have to decide it. Just, I wake up, I brush my teeth, you know? But your subconscious may also have the program like, oh, I feel stressed, I eat cookies. Oh, it's 12 o'clock, it's lunchtime. Oh, it's Friday night, let's get hammered. There may
Yeah.
be so many programs that are active that we don't even know are driving so many things were driven by food, constantly managing trauma in my body. And I was just thinking about this, how deeply ashamed I felt and how much I had to get in touch with feeling shame and how difficult initially it felt to just sit with that emotion and to sit with shame. And how most people don't even know they have shame. I didn't know because shame sits in your belly. And any amount of shame I didn't even know it was shame. I would just eat. I was just immediately put something. I didn't want to feel this. Like, I always had a drink going, always had some food going, to just don't have to feel consciousness of lack, scarcity, and self-hatred. And I was trying to control every aspect of my life. And then once I changed my belief, I didn't have to control anymore because it now happens on autopilot because beliefs create reality and my unconscious program make the decisions for me now. I can't remember the last time I made a choice with food that I didn't want to make. I was just thinking about Thanksgiving and how millions of people right now are stressed about their body and are stressed about their weight and are trying to control it by working out extra hard, counting calories, counting macros, like mindset. Oh yeah, maybe I'll just put this on my plate. Maybe then I eat gum afterwards. Maybe I'll do push-ups that morning. Like we have all
Yeah.
these like we leave our bodies, we go into some future scenario, we control it, we make some sort of control plan and to get there, it kind of all goes to shit. Or if you're using your plan, you're just so twisted up in your head that you weren't actually in your heart and you missed the whole experience. So that's like one of the many, many stories of how subconscious work helps you to feel your feelings. So when you release stress and you have new beliefs about your emotions, you are able to actually feel your feelings like the weather. It's fun, but you're able to manage it.
Yeah. It becomes something that you could just it's like just surfing the waves. Instead of always resisting the wave and being like, I'm not doing it. It feels like, okay, I'm learning to become a surfer. And now when a wave comes, I know it's just a wave. This isn't here forever. And I almost most of the time I get a little excited about it because it just means that there's like a miracle on the other side of it. There are definitely moments where I'm like, this doesn't feel like a miracle. This is lasting a very long time. This pain is not, this pain isn't going away. But it's really, to me, that working with the subconscious mind means that we really shift our relationship to the human experience, where we flow with our humanity rather than pushing against it. And it's been the most life-changing experience for me. So what does it feel like for you now? You painted a beautiful picture of what it felt like when you were thinking about Thanksgiving in the past of like, okay, how am I going to eat? What am I going to cook for myself? There's women out there like, I need to work out. I need to do extra long workout. There's lots of those belief systems that get put around on Instagram. But what does it feel like now when you think about going to a gathering with food and people, and how does that feel in your body, and what does that feel like for you now? Yeah, yeah, yep. Can you imagine how freeing that is? I mean, I feel like everyone has thought about food. There used to not go a day never went by that I wasn't thinking about what I was eating. I would literally journal about it. A lot of my journals in high school were like, "I ate this today," and I'm like, "What the hell was I?" And that's what I see you as you were explaining that, is you don't have to think about it because you are in alignment with your soul. You are one, you are in the present moment, and when you're in the present moment, the mind steps aside. You take away this insidious nature that the mind can have on like, I won't control," and it goes to the side because now You are a divine being who is like, I am love, I am light. And it's almost like the subconscious work. You know, you said at the top of the episode, you know, between 1 and 7 or 1 and 14 is when we get programmed because we are organic computers. So our surroundings, our religion, our culture, our friends are inputting their programs into our bodies. And it's just the human experience of coming into adulthood and being like, okay, I've been programmed to believe, do, act, think this way. Is this actually me? And oftentimes it is not. And as it's like the subconscious work I do with you just feels like it's clearing out the clutter and the bullshit that I experienced that someone programmed me with, and then as we design our lives exactly how we want them, we choose the programs, the beliefs we want, and I love how you said this, I don't have to think about it anymore because now you are walking around as the divine being you always were, and as someone who is divine, who is walking around as a divine being they always have been, you don't have to use your mind because you are the expression of God, you are the expression of the light. And I love that. Like, think about how freeing that could be. You live it. I'm just like for the audience. I'm like, think about like what could that feel like? Because I love that you also said at the top of the episode, psychology diagnoses and it kind of lives under the umbrella of like now I something is wrong with me. So people are saying I am depressed, I am anxiety, I am OCD, I am ADHD. And as we speak these words over our bodies, it's like we don't really it's another programming that we're inserting into the subconscious program that that caps us. And like Ellie said, you know, she had this belief around her eating disorder, and in my experience of working with Ellie at the very beginning, I had postpartum depression. I ended up taking a antidepressant for it, and at one point in my relationship with Ellie, I had reached out to her. I was like, "I think that I will always be depressed. No amount of subconscious work is gonna help me. I always come back to this very dense space in my body, and I don't know how to get out of it. I think I'm gonna go to the pharmacy today and fill up my prescription." And Ellie had said, "Consider for a moment that you are actually not depressed, that you really don't have that diagnosis." That it's not. I love you gave that visualization of this depression or whatever it is that we're defining ourselves with. I have an eating disorder. I have anxiety. Well, it like comes over you and creates a cast over your body, over your ability to be in presence with God, with the light, with the creator. And so that moment when she had said that to me, I was like, well, what other option is there? You know, and you had really helped me see the body is just expressing itself the in the way that you have been programmed, and there's things that need to be felt. It was just really for me learning to be like, okay, it's coming to the surface because it's ready to be felt, witnessed. And as we do that within, like you said, an emotion can be felt within 90 seconds. It can leave the body. And I ended up not going back to the pharmacy, not filling it up, and have never looked back.
A lot in this space. Now, I do want to really say if you're taking medication, so if you're choosing this out of you are having a diagnosis, I really want you to hear I'm not making that wrong whatsoever.
Yes.
To me, the approach to consider us as broken, that we are flawed and broken, that creates a lot of pain for people. And so, therefore, the medical field and the mental health field and even religion has this idea that we're broken and need fixing. And a lot of people walk around with this subconscious belief there's something really wrong with me. And that happens during childhood really easily. You did something quote unquote bad, and the belief forms that you're bad and that there's something fundamentally wrong with you. Most people that I've worked with operate on that belief. I used to. And then we go to great lengths to overcompensate and to show the world, no, no, we're actually not. But deep down, we're like, there's something wrong. There's something wrong. I'm so different. You know, like I'm so different. I'm over here, the rest of the world is over here. Everybody wants to belong and connect, but it's these beliefs that drive the disconnection. So believing there's something wrong with you, that's the issue. The issue isn't medication or not
Yes.
medication, it's the consciousness behind it. So if you're listening and you are like, but I want to take medication, I'm like, that's great. Just think about what consciousness are you in making the decision? Are you in the consciousness of trusting source and you're like, that's the best thing for me right now? Or are you in the consciousness like of fear, of shame, like, oh my God, I can't handle this and I'm terrible and I need fixing? Because that is disempowerment. That's a victim perspective. And the other one is empowerment, where you're in the consciousness of like, I am whole. I'm a divine being. I can create that. My invitation to myself and to all of us is just let's check the consciousness behind our choices, you know? And so whether or not you choose to medicate or not, that's not it. Or the label, even the diagnosis, all of that is super helpful. It's just kind of and all of it is a helpful temporary feel better step. I'm a super committed to the getting better long term and really exploring just doing the clearing with ourselves so that we don't need those things long term. Another little story. I used to be on medication for thyroid issues. When I was 19, I was diagnosed with an underactive thyroid. Now, the thyroid is also a very spiritual organ. It's like the window to your soul, it's your emotional center. So to understand why I got this diagnosis, a couple of years earlier, I remember sitting around the dinner table. My dad was yelling like he always did at dinner. He was yelling, screaming. It was very traumatic. And I was at the head of the table. I looked at my family and everybody was crying and my dad was expressing rage. And I thought, fuck all this, fuck all these emotions, fuck this sadness. I decided as a 13-year-old, sadness is weak. I remember deciding that I'm going to stop feeling at 13. So I became really angry. By 15, I was smoking cigarettes and drinking. I shaved my head and I was just dating guys that I knew my parents wouldn't approve. And I was doing stuff not consciously, but unconsciously to definitely rebel because I was suppressing my feelings. To suppress your feelings, you have to go to a great length. So eventually I started binge eating. So I was like, whoop, when you eat a lot of food, there's also a little bit of feeling. And for 2 years, I was undiagnosed with an underactive thyroid that was all trauma related. I had no idea that was trauma related. I had no idea that it was because I wasn't speaking my truth anymore, because I had decided to not say anything anymore. I decided to not feel anything anymore. I decided it's not safe for me to be not seeing this. I'm holding my hands and stroking myself. So basically, I felt shut and locked down on so many levels. Then I got diagnosed with an underactive thyroid. This was in Germany, and I was living in a little village. So the village doctor gave me medication and said, you're going to have to take this for the rest of your life. And I never questioned it again. And then I immigrated to America. And at some point, I got super interested in health. 24, 25, I had my awakening. I started smoking. I was already a fitness bunny. I was just a smoking fitness bunny, but I got really into health and wellness and fitness and all the like nervous system care and all the stuff that I'm into now. Uh, where was I going? This was shit. I just lost my train of thought. Help me.
You were talking about making the unconscious conscious and then making choices that are conscious
Yeah. Oh, the
and
thyroid. The
the
thyroid. So
thyroid.
yeah, I was like, I started to realize there's actually a lot I can do. Like the doctor just said, take this medication for the rest of your life. And I had made that mean there's nothing else I can do for myself. But a couple of years later, even though my blood work was showing better, markers, I was still kind of feeling like shitty. And I was like, well, still kind of feel like my thyroid is low, my metabolism is low. So I started to really work on what can I do? Enter the era of 5,000 supplements. Like I remember when I was moving, I had a whole drawer of like supplements. So I was trying there was an era, like earlier I mentioned my self-help era where I was trying to fix my trauma with self-help books. This was the era where I was trying to fix my trauma with supplements. Oh my goodness. I was
I've
just
been in every one of those eras.
yeah, so then I was drinking celery juice every morning for years. I was literally doing all the things. And I'm glad I did because I learned through trial and error and experimentation. That was really, really valuable to do that because I would only feel good as long as I kept these practices up. And then one day or even just half a day not in my, so this like, it was a very fragile house of cards. And I meet a lot of people with a lot of restrictions. Can't eat that, can't eat this, can't do this, can't do that. And I get very excited because I'm usually like, that used to be me. And guess what? When you clear trauma, your whole like vitality comes back, you know? So long story short, a couple of years ago, I finally got the ping. I was really scared. That was the last thing with Psyche. And I'd seen miracles after miracles, people healing cancer and stuff like that, like miracles. But was still my body. And I was like, oh, weight gain, scary as somebody that had eating disorder in her past, you know? So I had this story if I were to let go of the medication that I would go through a period of time that would be difficult. So I postponed it until a couple of years ago. I got the ping, my intuition is like, you're ready. You don't need this medication. So I went to my Western medical doctor that I go to once a year just for data. And I told him, my intuition told me to get off this medication. I fully expected him to like counter, but he didn't because I was already in the consciousness of I was in the right consciousness for it. So he said, sure, go off of it. We'll measure your blood levels. And I never looked back. I it was like, and I actually came online, and this was just 3 years ago that I got off thyroid medication that I've been on for 25 years. And if you know anything about me, I don't even know how I lived so long with that. But my voice is my most important thing about me, right? This is the most important thing about my entire system. And so and my emotional center and my intuition, like all of it was literally right here, you know? So 3 years ago, I felt like another little like awakening because I finally also something else clicked. So I know I shared a lot about health or body stuff. Relationally, same thing. Financially, same thing. I started over when I got divorced 10 years ago with $800 in my name. Now I live in one of the most expensive cities in California. And, when you think about this, it's all because I was able to shift my consciousness and my beliefs. So it's not that the sky is the limit or that your fears are the limit or that what you've been taught is the limit. It's our beliefs. And it's so exciting that we can change them. And there's a lot of different ways we can change beliefs. Just know that thinking positively doesn't change your beliefs. And that's, I think, one last little tidbit. People might be like, oh, that's exciting now after this podcast. I want to change my beliefs.
Yeah.
Like, and you can start simply by having that desire. I want to change my beliefs. I want to have better beliefs and becoming more aware of your beliefs. That's a really great place to start. Just know that you cannot think your way out of trauma. And a lot of times we cannot think our way out of limiting beliefs. So that's where these modalities are available when we want them. And these tools are here when we want and need them. Doesn't mean you need them. It doesn't mean you're broken or need fixing. And honestly, like, I find limiting beliefs almost every day. There's so many beliefs we have and so much consciousness to expand. So I often ask myself when I encounter an issue, I welcome it first and foremost with acceptance and curiosity and feel all my feelings about it. And then I check my consciousness about it. What are my beliefs about this situation? What fear. And then I'm like, oh, okay. I have conflicting beliefs, limiting beliefs, and then I go to town, changing my beliefs and changing my consciousness so that I can take different actions, create different patterns.
Ugh, wow, there's just so many things we could riff on forever, but I really feel like this conversation will bless so many people, and everything that Ellie said, so true. She used to say to me all the time, like, "Not everything you believe or think is true." And that really loosened up my capacity to look at my reality and be like, "Wait, what if this wasn't true? What if the meaning that I gave this situation, this person, and this thing wasn't true? And what would I want instead?" Really helped me to just to have that capacity. And And exactly what you said, I don't want anyone to think that having depression or having a diagnosis is bad or shamesies. Like she said, it's just the consciousness in which we move about our lives. And the consciousness that I was moving about was I am eternally broken. Something is always going to be wrong with me, and I will always need this. So it's about elevating our consciousness and becoming co-creator of our life and not the victim to our life. And that's really what Ellie's work has just helped me to do. I cannot recommend her enough for working alongside of her, as she is the most amazing, passionate, and loving. Like, I have brought some deep old skeletons to the closet where I was like, I'm sure she'll be like, with this skeleton, she'll be like, girl, this one is crazy. And every time I bring one to her, I'm like, okay, here we go. I haven't told anyone this. And she just will laugh at it. And that has actually been so helpful for me because I'm like, wait, don't you think this is a big deal? Like, don't you think that this one will actually prove that I am broken? And every time she meets the problem with so much grace and compassion and acceptance, which has helped me to cultivate so much grace, compassion, and acceptance. So, if you're feeling the call, definitely schedule a discovery call with her. She offers free discovery calls. And Ellie, why don't you tell anyone else where to find you and then anything else you'd like to offer?
I love you. And everybody listen to you, the voice of the future, the guide into our new paradigm. Thank you for answering the call and doing this. I'm loud on Instagram. You can find me there. And just know that absolutely everything in our reality right now is a reflection of our beliefs and our subconscious programs. And that if people out in the world take responsibility in that your feelings are actually direct results of the way you perceive something, and that you can change the way you perceive something, and therefore you can change the way you feel day in and day out. It's really empowering. And that this entire system, your meat suit, your nervous system, your brain, it's not who you are, it's your vehicle. You're the consciousness that gets to write it and gets to use it. So when there's something going on in your brain or your body, you're not broken. It's just your system is just giving you data and feedback. So if you do go to psychology or any of these places, just go from the consciousness of I'm already full, I'm lacking nothing, and go with that consciousness to the doctor, go with that consciousness and get the data that you need. I'm not saying don't go to the doctor. I'm simply saying, first look at your beautiful system as your meat suit, your vehicle, and that you're the healer, you're the medicine. And the same is true for your finances. The same is true for manifesting anything, your partner, your life, your everything. Your beliefs create your reality. Dancing, get in the bodies, all the rituals, and all of that is here for us to get us into the.
It is. Ellie, you are the most magical human. I'm so grateful I get to walk the path alongside of you. I'm grateful for your influence and your big heart. It's a true gift to the world. So I love you. Thank you for joining me today. If this episode spoke to your heart, please share it with another woman on her journey. And until next time, stay rooted in your humanity and devoted to your becoming.